Welcome back to a non-TCG. So now that the set's out, the spoilers are out, we'll do a full box opening and just kind of walk you guys through the opening experience. We have our old school Rudy Seance playmat here. It's about that time of year, and you know there's a 50% chance that this box is worth the same at some point in the future. Hopefully not, but let's take a look. So opening the Arthurian Legends Box, we have a box topper, similar to what we had in Alpha and Beta. It's just, you know, a bunch of avatars. We'll open this real quick. We have some Lance tokens, and we have some foot soldiers. Avatar-wise, we have Templar. This is new. The first Knight, Sir, or Dame you cast each turn costs one less. Druid, play it or draw a sight. Summon Bruin here. Flip this card. If you played a sight and you don't control Tani, summon a Druid. Summon her there. Here's Bruin. Here's Tani, so they're associated with Druid. We have a Rubble, Lance, and then we have our Artist card. So if you noticed, Brian Smith isn't on here. Neither is Dade Seagrave. So let's start ripping into the packs here. So it seems like each box of 24 is giving about 6 foils. And it also seems like, you know, in the Alpha and Beta boxes, Costly Helm. Here's our first foil. It seems like in the Alpha and Beta boxes, you know, uniques were 7 or 8 per box. In this instance, it looks like the uniques are close to 50%, so anywhere between 11 and 13, or 11 and 12. But what's interesting is, you know, obviously the elites were only 50%, but from an overall set count, if we use the quote, or the number they quoted, that was approximately, you know, 220 unique cards, plus we have, you know, we have Elvira's Knights, some other items there. You know, it looks like there's approximately 70 uniques, which leaves, you know, call it 50-50-50 across your elites, your ordinaries, and then your exceptionals. So, you know, it's an interesting makeup of the set because it is unique heavy. You know, after opening about 3 cases of these, this is cracking into the 4th case. You know, it's the ordinaries do get old very, very fast. Sir Bedivere. And it's just kind of like, what am I going to do with all these? Especially since I'm sure there's a ton of this product printed. The other thing of note, which is kind of interesting, in the first 3 cases that I opened, the Knights tended to appear like 3 to 4 times more often than the other uniques, which, you know, I don't know if they doubled up on the print sheets or what the scenario is there, but I thought that was a little interesting because, you know, the Knights, outside of a handful, they seem like they're a little nichey when it comes to gameplay. You know, obviously we'll let the nerds figure out the meta on this. Battling Brook. But it's interesting. So let's see, where are we? Put these here. Another Knight. Just a Rock. I have about 7 million Just a Rocks. So if anybody wants Just a Rock, feel free to send me a message on the site. We'll save you Just a Rock. The other thing that's interesting, you know, with Alpha and Beta, there was a chase, right? You know, we had Philosopher's Stone. Everybody knew, you know, within reason, that it was, you know, effectively a Black Lotus for Magic. Black Plague, very interesting. And then the cores are obviously the Moxen. You know, in this set, there's not really what I would call a chase yet, because it's a brand new set. You know, I did notice there's some mana dorks, so, you know, some ordinaries that you can tap for 1 mana of any threshold. There's also one that you can tap for 2 colorless, you know, kind of Sol Ring-esque, if you will. So maybe that's what the intent was. But there's nothing that jumps out and says, oh shit, I want that card in every pack that I open. So, the chase is a little weak. It seems like outside of, the group of folks who pay attention to the game in the official Discord and such, the demand's been a little light. I know a lot of the first wave has gone to stores and hasn't gone to the big online sellers like the first wave of beta, which ended up being somewhat of a disaster. So that's good. So hopefully we get some player base and the game catches on. Monstrous Lion. The other thing that I think it's a little disappointing, we have Elvira's Knights. I don't know if there's 8, 9, 10, whatever the number is. I know there have been 3 or 4 spoil, and we've seen the art for Tristan. We've seen the art for Guinevere in one of the spoilers that Eric had done. This is a cool card. Other minions can untap. I assume that its power is pretty powerful to some extent. But it doesn't seem like they're that attainable. And, what's interesting is, the big chase with MetaZoo. We've talked about garbage games here. Not to say sorcery's garbage, but, it's an indie. One of the big chases with MetaZoo was serialized cards. Well, part of the challenge is they were so impossible to get. Now this is a banger here. 13 Treasures of Britain in foil. That is a cool card, and there's really cool lore behind that. But, when there's only 100 chase cards in a set, and they print 50,000, 100,000 boxes, it's not attainable. So there's, the chase effectively disappears because there's no chance of getting the card. I think I would have liked to see, between White Knight, another one of Tony's pieces, between the Knights and, I've seen a handful of curios. Now, maybe a case hit, something like that, as opposed to, 1 every 6 cases or 7 cases, which quite honestly, not super effective in the game. Because, a lot of the curios aren't playable. It looks like the Knights aren't going to be playable. Unless, you use your imagination and use it the same way as one of the regular cards is to be played. So I think that's a little disappointing, all in all, between not having a reasonable chase between the curios, the Knights, and really the uniques and not knowing what the banger in the set is. It's kind of, the cards are awesome, the art's awesome, but it's kind of like a meh, if you will, because it's like, I'm opening cards, I'm looking at cards, I'm looking at art I've seen, a bunch of. I don't know if it's good or not. And I know part of what the community's been screaming about has been getting the player base involved, which is great, and it's good that boxes go to the store. But at the end of the day, players don't spend any money. And the reason why Sorcery Beta was so popular is because the alpha boxes exploded in price, and it's simple as that. And everybody kind of had Fomo, Sir Percival, FOMO when the beta boxes came out, and I'm sure there's tens of thousands of boxes sitting on shelves because a lot of large distributors and collectors hoarded them. It's popular because of how much the box prices went up. So it's going to be interesting to see with this set. Is there real demand? Because a big chunk, at least in my opinion, of the beta box demand was artificial, just based on speculators, flippers, what have you. But this set's different. Hopefully the company didn't overprint based on, kind of a false sense of sales. Hopefully they were intelligent enough to use what is the Dust Reward system and how many boxes were actually redeemed as what the real value is. Because, my fear with beta is, now that the final wave came in, Salmon of Knowledge, now that the final wave came into stores, you see a lot of stores that don't have play groups. They got 2 or 3 cases, and, the price is getting absolutely crushed on TCG Player and eBay because they have nothing to do with the boxes. So, a little bit too little too late. So if beta boxes do tend to break that below that MSRP number, and plummet. And my fear is that there's tens of thousands of boxes that are going to start a panic and come to market, just absolutely crush the game. So, hopefully I'm wrong there. Hopefully I'm mistaken. But if they overprint this set and the boxes go below MSRP, the game's going to die. Because people aren't going to want it, and the player base is so tiny. It's gonna die before it gets started. So again, hopefully I'm wrong. The card quality in these seems to be much better than alpha and beta. The cuts on the back are relatively crisp. The resolution is much tighter than what we've seen in the past. I have not noticed any print lines on the foils, which are good. Yeah, big improvement. But again, the company can overprint this, because if this drops below MSRP, beta drops below MSRP or map, the game's going to die, very quickly. And, there'll be a handful of players, but, that's about it. And, I think catering to the players is a little bit of a mistake because, look at Flesh and Blood, in the last pack. They decided that they didn't necessarily cater to the collectors and the investors. They wanted to be a players-based game, and look at the product. The product comes out for 2 weeks, it's hot, and then it's garbage. Nobody wants it. And, ultimately, players don't spend money. Collectors, investors spend money. I think the target demographic of folks who grew up playing Magic, ages 30 to 55-ish, those are folks that have, additional income that'll sink it into this. So, hopefully the game doesn't get too far away from its bread and butter and what it was originally trying to get to. And, they kind of stay the course, and you have to keep the print runs tight, because if the box prices drop, that's the quickest way to kill the game. So, and on TCG, feel free to join the Discord, like, subscribe, enjoy the Rudy Mat, and we'll talk to you guys soon.